This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror Program, 91.3 FM. If you're listening this on, if you're not listening to this recorded interview, broadcast live, hopefully you're checking it out on the Radio Horror YouTube channel with all our other awesome interviews. And tonight on the show with us from the movie Blood Immortal, we have the actress who played the middle part vampire, as there's three parts of this story, Jordan Trovillion. Thank you for coming on the show with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
This was a really cool movie for 2/3 of it.
Thanks. Thank you.
I am a big fan of the first part. I thought that was really well done, which I know you're not involved with, but I thought it was well paced and just really like, oh, the vampire gets their comeuppance. And then we get into your part, which is like the modern day, and I absolutely fell in love with that entire part.
Thank you.
Third part in the future was okay. I wasn't as in love with the first two acts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's interesting that there are three kind of very different movies that are kind of put together in this film. So I think that it's nice that there's sort of one thing for a lot of different sort of viewers to be able to appreciate over the course of the film.
The character you play is just kind of like a vampire going through her night-to-night life, say day-to-day, but night-to-night life. You play Fiona, who doesn't have a last name. I thought it was a unique name for a vampire. Usually it's like Selena or something like that. I created one called Vlada, so I'm not very original. But I did like the name Fiona, and then it opens the way it opens up immediately with you and the girl, and I was just like, whoa, good start. and then it's like this human lifestyle thing, like going to classes and stuff. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a jarring transition. You know, it was a very smooth, like, we're gonna show you how she is as a vampire, and then show you how she is in her human life right away. And I thought that was really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, the sort of going into the plot of like what a vampire does with her time, and I think that delving into Fiona's exploration of humanity because of this, you know, if you haven't seen the movie, there is a sort of corrupted blood thing that has been happening. So the vampires are drinking blood and then experiencing pain or illness in this like second part of the film. And so Fiona is having more and more of a hard time finding blood that isn't. It's a very Only Lovers Left Alive style of thing. And so she meets with another one of her vampire I think they're former lovers, and she tells her, you know, that she has to, it's important to like understand humans and what they've become. And so yeah, Fiona starts taking a night class in economics because she loves economics, because she's been alive for so long that she's seen firsthand how all of these trends, you know, rise and fall. And then she kind of develops a mutual respect for and kind of a crush on her economics professor, who is a wonderful, wonderful actress named Erica Hovland, who's just fantastic. She does great work.
I don't profuse to know what your side of the things are, and that's not really important, but is it easy or difficult to play bisexual or lesbian?
It's easy to play bisexual because it's easy to play who you are.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think that it's easy as an actor to, because your job is to live truthfully in imaginary circumstances, right? And so you can project love onto anything, you know. I mean, like, is it easy or difficult to project love onto a computer program or a real doll or another human being?
Who's the girl in the alley with you before you go to class?
Oh my goodness, she is wonderful. Her name's Ashley Killips.
Okay, that's what I was trying to. I couldn't figure out if she had a name because I was trying to find her on IMDb.
Yeah, her character's name's Emma.
And then there's Club Girl. They decided not to give her a name. She's just a snack.
She's such a snack. Her name was Spring.
Snacks.
Which is a great name. I feel like they just should have given her, like, her name is just Spring Lions in the club.
Yes, that is it in parentheses. But I did direct a vampire short where the female vampire called the couple that she was eyeball effing, that's the best way to say that on the radio, snacks, and she does it like that. We did like 4 takes of it. I was like, you gotta say it like this, like a snake. Snacks. and like really wet your lips like this.
So hard to pronounce those S's with those vampire teeth in.
She would always before set go through the alphabet over and over. So the entire time she's got the fangs in, she's constantly singing the alphabet. So that way she knows how to pronounce things without.
Yeah, you don't just pop the vampire teeth in and then just call action. You got to practice with those things.
Right, absolutely. That's why when we did Dracula's Guest, the prequel to the information I sent you about Vlada, we decided not to do fangs because it was just the actress trying to do the Romanian accent with the fangs was just coming off so bad.
It's tough, man. It's real tough. And some people's mouths are just built differently. And so, you know, if you have something interfering with where their canines are in their mouth, like you just can't create certain sounds. And that sucks. It's really hard.
Did you have to wear, were your fangs real? Cause I hated that crap on True Blood where they were like, CGI.
No, they were plastic fangs, and they hurt when you stabbed yourself in the gums with them. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I've chipped the part that sticks into my teeth a couple times. I might need to get them redone, but I have custom ones done. Did you get customs?
Nice. We had the boil and bite kind.
Oh no, that sucks.
No, I mean, I honestly had no problem. They look great on camera, and that's what I like about them. I have a custom set of my own
Of course you do.
For personal use.
A personal use. This is True Confessions here on Radio Horror tonight with Jordan. You are on the air.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a certain set of people to whom I belong who just need to have a set of vampire fangs that are fit to their mouth, and it's fine.
Have you ever played Vampire the Masquerade, the live-action role-playing game?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me this, and the answer is no.
Shame on you! Shame!
But I played a large...
It's like what we do in the shadows. You stand in the circle of shame. It's so much fun. Obviously not quite during a pandemic, but...
There were... Because when I had friends who were playing Vampire the Masquerade, and I appreciate that there has been a resurgence, and I have, like, groups of people who are now... Their tables are all full. So, like, it was... everyone I knew was playing Vampire the Masquerade in, like... early high school,
right?
15 years old, and then everyone I know now is playing Vampire the Masquerade, and I like missed the get on the boat moment of that. So I'm just in a Call of Cthulhu game, and that's fine.
There's a new comic book out by Tim Seeley, the guy who created Hackslash. He wrote a comic book, 5 issues. They're gonna come out with issue 6 soon. Kind of like a murder mystery. The whip of the prince needs to go find out who killed the prince, and she's got her new charge with her, who she just brought over, and the whole city's after him because they think that she did it because she was so close to the prince, and somebody else wants the prince's power, and so it's a matter of like, who had it out for the prince, kind of murder mystery kind of thing, while escaping a bunch of vampires that either really hated her or vampires that were like always loyal to the prince that were just like, she couldn't have possibly done that, and we're gonna totally shelter her.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a very cool little 5 issues that Tim wrote, and so there are going to be more coming soon. In the back of the comic book, by the way, there were character sheets from the official White Wolf games of the new characters created in the comic book that you could use as NPCs.
That's really cute. I love that. That kind of embracing the marketing is wonderful.
This whole thing with you and the professor in the movie, where she is like, I mean, right from the very beginning, like, because the director, Robert, I don't know, did he cinematography this? Was he the cinematographer?
I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. Whoever the cinematographer was.
The cinematographers, we had 3 of them.
Okay.
Yeah, Alex, and then Michael Kettenvale, and then Nick were cinematographers on it. My memory. This was like 2 years ago.
When like you leave and they linger on the professor, immediately gives away that the professor's like, I think I'm bisexual or a lesbian, possibly. You know what I mean? And then, of course, you have the little chat. And you're like, hey, you should call up the old friend. And then the most heartbreaking thing of all time happens in that movie. You're just like, you let that guy go. And now he's married with kids. And
just devastating.
Oh, that hurt. I could feel the pain in that, because you know what I mean. And like, I've seen this photos of the actress who plays the professor online. And she's like really beautiful. And they definitely what's the word I'm looking for? Make her like homely and not so glamorous. Like, you're the vampire, so you're supposed to be glamorous, but they make her look very like downtrodden of
much
life.
more sort of natural kind of. I mean, like because the whole character of the professor is Patricia is a very lonely person, and that is, I mean, we're almost embodiments of loneliness, and I think that there is an interesting parallel to be drawn between like someone who's lived for thousands of years or hundreds of years who, has no family and has no one to love and no one to, because you outlive everybody, or people find out your secret and then try to kill you. Vampires, just such a lonely existence. Or you have, someone who has single-mindedly pursued their profession and maybe neglected other aspects of their life. Not saying that that's what happens when you pursue your profession across the board, but people are different, and then
right.
These two different aspects of what it is to be so lonesome, and trying to that like immediate recognition in one another of the desire for companionship, I think is what we see with that frisant with them in the beginning when they first meet.
What I thought was funny was when I was looking up who the professor was. When I first saw this movie, she played Harley Quinn in an Injustice for All fan film or something. I was like, what? Yeah, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. I was involved in that production. I was supposed to play Catwoman, and then I had a problem with the way that they wrote Catwoman, and then I wasn't a part of it anymore.
Oh yeah. What's funny is that Jamie Bernadetta played Catwoman. She's been on my show like 3 times.
Oh, has she? She and I did Elder Island together.
Yeah, she was supposed to come back on for her directing thing that's on Kickstarter right now, which I don't know where that is. But the last time she came on for was the I Spit on Your Grave Part 12 or whatever the hell it is. Which is like, good God, I cannot believe they made like 7 I Spit on Your Grave movies. It's like,
you can't?
I can't. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, that's like one of the hallmarks of classic horror, right? Is unending ludicrous sequel.
But it's a little different when it's like Jason, Freddy, Michael, Dracula, obviously sequel, bait if they can ever get a franchise going with him. But I Spit on Your Grave is insanely controversial material. I mean, you can look past Freddy and be like, well, he's kind of lovable, so what he does is okay in the context of the movie. We all love him for it. But man, those I Spit on Your Grave movies are not easy to watch. I mean, we don't need to go into details, but also this segues back to vampires. Isn't vampires all like an allegory for that? I mean, we glamorize and romanticize vampires, but being a vampire is no different than being a rapist.
I would argue with that. I think that being a vampire is like, I mean, okay, so we're talking about choice theft, right? Like if you take away someone's ability to choose a thing, there are consensual vampirisms.
Well, oh yeah, if you say, hey, you have a choice, you can either die or I can make you into one of us, and you're like, sure, okay, I like the lifestyle of being a vampire, even though, I'm aware of like the downfalls of it. So that there's the choice of that. So they're not always that way. But when the vampire just takes the woman or takes the man, takes from them, puts themselves inside, that whole thing. And that's why people are always like, with all the stuff that's in cancel culture or whatever you want to call it these days, when do you think vampires will finally get like get the stake, no pun intended, of like, okay, so someone's broken down the way vampires really are. And I had an audiobook narrator read my book, the one I've told you about. And she even pointed out, oh, that's right, vampires are an allegory for non-consensual activities. Because in my story, there is like an assault of the Jonathan Harker, Janice Harker character. You know what I mean? I write it as the way it should be. But, you know what I mean? It comes to a stop at some point before it gets any further, but it is definitely setting up something that I'm sure will make people uncomfortable. But it's not about what that normally is when it comes to, somebody of one sex being attacked by multiple people of another sex. It's, you got 8-10 pints inside you, and that's all we really care about.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about like the very Victorian puritanical idea of like these, because I think that there's not only the introduction of like sin, right? The like taking of somebody's like ability to, say yes or say no, right? Like you suck their blood, they don't have a choice in it, whatever. But there's a seduction there that I think is interesting, and it's almost more the fear of infection of that level of seduction, because like it's, you've got Dracula comes down and sucks the blood of a vampire, and then they become a vampire themselves, and they become this agent of sensuality and of sex themselves, and that like, oh no, the sexy people are coming to take over the world, and they're going to they're going to make us leave our wives for transgender lesbians.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I'm what is the song that's going around on TikTok right now? Yes, so many evil. Oh gosh, what is it?
What's the song on TikTok?
There's a song that's going around on TikTok that I'm trying to reference that is like, yes, I'm an evil left-wing something, here to force your wives to get abortions and then leave them for transgender lesbians. It's hilarious. It's making fun of the way that so many people present like leftist people as bad, naughty, horrible people, but instead of being bad, naughty, horrible people, we're just progressive.
Now, is this the only time you've played a vampire?
Is it? No, it is not.
And I'll be totally honest, I honestly didn't know who you were until I saw this movie. But I might, I have seen Jack Reacher, but I'm not the biggest fan of that film. But I think that was really it. But I think this was my introduction to who you are.
That's fine. I'm not famous by any means. I feel like I'm locally known.
You're on my top 10 list of vampire babes. Let's just say that.
I'm locally known in the Michigan area because I used to be on a show called Comics Continuum, which was about comic book culture, and so I hosted that show for a number of years. Which is, I used to make like appearances at comic conventions and like interview, creators and stuff like that, which was super fun. But I mean, like Jack Reacher is probably the biggest budget thing that I've done, and I had like, I was in Pittsburgh for 4 days filming on that, and I met Tom Cruise, and it was amazing, and they didn't give me any lines, and it was fine. But I think that, you have to be kind of niche to be like, oh my gosh, Jordan Trovillion, you haven't heard of her? That's a very specific group of people, I think. But I have played vampires before in the past. I'm trying to remember if I've done it in film, and I don't think that I have. But I played a sort of very blatant underworld Selena ripoff character in a like stage combat rock show.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was a thing.
So it's like Rockula? Remember that movie?
Say what?
Do you remember Rockula?
Rockula? No, I don't.
80s vampire movie about a vampire who wants to become a rock star.
I see it. I feel like the only vampire rock star in my heart is Lestat, so that's fine.
In the books, yes, not the movie.
Oh God, you know what? You want to talk about a failure of adaptation?
There is nothing good about that movie except for Aaliyah, and that's like, if your only reason to watch that movie is for her performance, that is fine, because that is the only reason I own that movie. Just a tragedy what happened to her, 'cause she would be like 42 years old this year. Mm-hmm. And yeah, thank God we have whoever's doing the TV series now. It's changing networks every 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be on Hulu, but Disney owns Hulu. I don't think I don't think it's gonna be on. It's like, good God, guys, you have HBO Max. Put the stupid Anne Rice show on HBO Max and make it as adult as you can, because you will get away with murder. I've seen horror get away with murder on HBO Max. I've watched Lovecraft Country, and I'm like, whoo, they get away with everything on this show.
Well, Lovecraft Country was such a fun show. I enjoyed that so much.
Yeah, but they need to do that. Like,
it's Anne Rice. Of course, it's going to be on HBO Max. Like, what are you going to do? I mean, it's all of sad gay vampires. Yeah, it's HBO.
The most ridiculous vampire movie I hold up. Now, my favorite vampire movie, and I want you to tell me yours, is Fright Night Part 2. And the reason why is because I've always been in love with the music and the atmosphere, and Julie Carmen, who plays Regine Dandridge in the movie, who's been on the show, and I followed her on Twitter, and she follows me, and she was a huge promoter for Vlada, by the way, because we told her when she came on the show like years ago that like, I have this idea for this gender swap Dracula, and instead of just making it just like Dracula, I'm actually going to base it off of Regine. And she was extremely flattered about that. So we finally got to do that. You know what I mean? And it's not every little thing, but there's a couple pieces in the book that are straight out of Fright Night Part 2, you know? And I absolutely love it. So Fright Night Part 2 is probably my favorite vampire. Fright Night and Fright Night Part 2 are my favorite vampire movies. And my most guilty pleasure film is John Carpenter's Vampires. Because it's so over the top and ridiculous.
Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous.
And just that whole speech James Woods gives the preacher about, you know, like, do you know anything about vampires? Let me tell you, there are a bunch of whatever informal way. I can't say it. Formal way of running around Europe, seducing people with their Euro trash accents. Which, you know anything about James Woods, you kind of get, oh wow, that mirrors a lot of his stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, seeing right through to the core of James Woods here.
Yeah. What is yours? And you can't say your own movie. I'm so full of myself. I just love myself in my own film.
God, can you even imagine? No, I think that my favorite vampire movie that I've seen, and I mentioned it once already, which is Sling, but is Only Lovers Left Alive.
Yes, absolutely. Are you kidding me? Loki and what's her name? Absolutely.
Yeah, and the Ancient One, I guess, right? Like that's if you're talking about MCU.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot she played the Ancient One. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Tilda Swinton is just like I appreciate.
All the comic book people are in that movie.
Yeah.
All the geeks, or if not comic book people, no comic book people, because John Hurt plays the Prime Minister of England in V for Vendetta, a comic book movie.
Yeah,
and the only
absolutely
right, and I don't think Anton Yelchin was in a comic book movie before he passed away, but he was in Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So there you go. And then, but Jeffrey Rush, who plays the mortician, what is his next role coming up?
What is it? I don't.
Not the mortician. He's the doctor who gives the blood to Loki. Mm-hmm. He's Commissioner Gordon in The Batman.
Oh my gosh. I haven't been following a lot of information on the Batman because I feel like I'm very excited to walk eyes closed into whatever weird hurricane that movie is going to be. And be just completely blindsided by whatever they decide to do. I'm super excited to be like, because that is a thing that I love, is walking into something completely unprepared for it and having those kind of pure reactions to what it is, and then like reading on it and looking about it and looking up things on it and thinking about it a bit more and then going back and watching it again. So I am absolutely that person who watches movies multiple times. But I'm excited to see the Batman because I did you see The Lighthouse?
Yes, which stars the Green Goblin in Batman.
Yes, Green Goblin and Batman. Because the only movies that exist are comic book movies. But I just I enjoyed Robert Pattinson's work in that so much, and just thinking about how his whole demeanor regarding the Edward Cullen character when he was doing the Twilight movies was so very like, he's a man who hates himself. It was a very like actorly perspective on the character. He wasn't like, I'm gonna play this like a romantic lead because he's a romantic lead. He's like seeing to the core of the character, this is a guy who like hates everything that he is and is too cowardly to off himself. So like, and that's how he played the character, and the studio hated it, and like so many people hated it, but it was just this very true to yourself sort of interpretation of it, and I enjoyed that immensely. So I'm very excited to see what his like core idea of what Bruce Wayne is.
I'm really excited for it too. I know we've got, I don't want to see, let's explain to you how the Wings were killed. Thank God Kevin Feige is somebody we are all loving and embracing in the Marvel Universe, because what is one thing he decided he didn't want to see again in Spider-Man?
Yes, we didn't get to see Uncle Ben tragically get murdered again.
Jordan, I would definitely love to have you on the Hammer Horror podcast I do sometime. We will be covering some upcoming vampire movies that you might enjoy based on what you have told me about yourself, plus what you do in this movie. We're actually going to be covering the Carnella trilogy.
Ooh, I'm not familiar.
Okay, so these are 3 films that were very controversial at the time because they were lesbian vampires. The one movie was called the lesbian vampire lovers or something like that. There was Twins of Evil, and then there was Countess Dracula, which has nothing to do with my character. This is why we changed the name to like, okay, she's gonna be called Vlada, bigger deal than Countess Dracula.
does Carnella have anything to do with the Carmilla?
No, and that's why they did the name, because it's supposed to be kind of an allegory for that.
Okay.
And like Peter Cushing is like in two of them. Yeah, it's just like stuff you have never seen on screen before. In fact, one of the movies was the first time they ever had like twins in the movie that were the central main characters. And Hugh Hefner saw the movie, and he got this bright idea. He was like, you know what has never been in Playboy before?
Wow.
Twins.
That's all.
And the twins in Twins of Evil were the first twins to ever appear in Playboy together.
Wow.
Yep. He was like, twins? That's what the magazine needs. Twins.
Amazing. Yeah, no, give me I'm glad I have a watch list. Let me know when we're doing that.
All right. Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram at jordan.trovillion. They can find my website, jordantrovillion.net, and they can find me on Twitter at jordantrovillion.
Awesome.
It's Trovilllion. If you usually type in Jordan Trov, it will autocorrect or autofill.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Jordan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure.
Yes.